thank you all for coming to this presentation today. As you can see, what I'm going to be talking about is the journey that we take to go from I can't to I did. And as I talk about this journey, I'm going to be sharing some experiences about my personal journey, a recent journey I've taken, which took me from an I can't that had been sitting there for about almost 20 years for me. I had gone to school several years ago and had gotten my associate degree, always with the plan of completing a bachelor's degree. And for various reasons, I kept telling myself, I can't do it. I can't do it now. I can't do it because of this, whatever. And so that thing sat on my shelf. And if all of you can picture in your minds, all of us have a shelf that is full of I can'ts, things that we've stashed away for years. They start gathering dust and we keep telling ourselves, I can't, I can't, I can't. So a few years ago, I decided that I didn't want that to be an I can't anymore, and I am now, in just 2.5 years, have turned a 20-year-old I can't into an I did. So as we talk about this journey, I'm going to talk about the various steps that I took and the various steps that everybody needs to take to accomplish this journey. So step one is to change your I can't into an I can. And this involves changing the way that you think about whatever it is that you want to accomplish. In changing our thinking, this is sometimes a very difficult step for many of us. A lot of us get caught up into this negative thinking about ourselves, and it's very hard to reframe the way that we think. For me, the I can'ts were, I can't afford school. I can't find the time to go back to school. Or I can't travel to campus. It was too far. It just didn't fit in my schedule. So I'm sure all of us can think of something that is our I can't. And what we need to do is take that list of all of the I can'ts, list as many of them as you can think of, and find a way to change that into an I can. For me, that process was, well, before I thought I can't afford school, but as I looked into it, I found I can get loans and grants. I found out that I could take just a few classes at a time. I can take online classes to solve my I can't. So, what will you change to make your I can't an I can? And part of this is doing some research. By researching, you can find those answers, and sometimes we need a little bit of help. In our society, again, we become very down on ourselves. It's a lot easier to think positively about other people, and so if need be, you can even take your I can't list and take it to a friend and give that list to your friend, and I bet your friend is going to be able to come up with all of the answers to why you can do something that you might not be able to see yourself, because we tend to think more positively about other people than we do about ourselves. That takes us to step two. Step two is changing the I can into an I will. That involves making a specific plan and making set goals. This quote by Steve Maraboli, if you have a goal, write it down. If you do not write it down, you do not have a goal, you have a wish. Plans have to be written down. If you can imagine a business owner walking into a bank and saying, I'd like to get a loan, here's my business plan, well, it's up in my head. That doesn't cut it in the business world, and it doesn't really cut it in our personal world either. Goals need to be written down. The goals, as we go about making our plan for how we're going to get from the I can't to the I did, need to be SMART. And the SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Specific, we can't just say, I am going to graduate with a bachelor's degree. That doesn't tell me about how I'm going to get there. Measurable means it needs to be specific things that I can say that I actually accomplished, step 1, step 2, step 3. Achievable, the goals need to be something we can actually do. I can try to make a goal of I'm going to win the lottery, but that's not in my control, so it's not really an achievable goal. Realistic, I could have said I'm going to graduate in 1 semester. It's specific, it's measurable, it's not really realistic though. and timely. It needs to have an end time. You can't just say, I am going to someday graduate with a bachelor's degree. It leaves it too open-ended, and it tends to lead to us not reaching those goals. Step 3 is to move from I will to I am. I will is future. It means someday. I am means today. It does involve actually carrying out those steps then that we laid out in the plan before. Amelia Earhart said the best way to do it is to do it. We have to take action. Another quote that I'm sure you're all very familiar with, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, a journey of 2 steps starts with a single step. It doesn't matter how long the journey, it just matters that we get started. Now, that journey may be different for you than it is for me. Some people might look at the mountain, and some people can plot their course and go straight to the summit. Some of us have to plan a slightly longer journey, and we have to take the less steep switchbacks back and forth and back and forth. So our journey may be longer, it may be much more drawn out than somebody else's, but whether you're taking the switchback or whether you're marching your way straight up the mountain, the end of that path, it's the same place. They both end at the summit. So it doesn't matter whether you're taking the slow, steady path or the straight march up the side of the mountain. Fact of the matter is, you have to start marching along that path. That leads us then to step 4, which finally gets us from I am to I did, and that takes perseverance. The definition of perseverance is steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. At some point along this path, you are going to hit a brick wall. It happens to all of us, and so you can pretty much accept the fact that it is inevitable. You will hit challenges along the way. The difference between the people that achieve and turn their I can'ts into I did is that they persevere. They keep going regardless of what brick walls they hit, whatever obstacles they happen to come along in their way. The good thing about brick walls is that they're not eternal. Doesn't matter how big the wall, it ends somewhere. You can look at even the Great Wall of China, and it ends somewhere. It's a very long trip, but it does end somewhere. Along with perseverance, this is another place where having help is necessary. None of us can make these journeys alone. Anybody who climbs Mount Everest had help. Nobody does it alone. If we look at somebody who wins an Olympic gold medal, somebody doesn't look at that accomplishment and say, well, it doesn't really count because they had help. They had a trainer, they had a coach, so it's really not that great. We don't look at the people who climb Mount Everest and say, well, they didn't do it by themselves, so it's really not that great. Everybody needs help with those really big goals, and that's okay. Good step is to celebrate. After you persevere through all those things, then you have finally reached your goal. So, now it's your turn. The point of my presentation here is not simply to explain what I did. It is to help you to see how you can take your can't and turn it into an I did. So right now, I want everybody to go to that little shelf in your mind, gathering dust, full of all of the things that you've said I can't, and pick just one. Put it in your mind right now, and make a commitment to turn that into an I did. You're going to take that first step to turn your I can't into an I can, and then turn it into an I will, an I am, and an I did. You're going to take those steps by changing your thinking, making a plan, taking action, and then finally persevering through whatever obstacles you find. I can tell you that the view from the top is much better than the view from the bottom. It's worth whatever it takes to turn that I can't into an I did. And I hope that you'll each take this opportunity to put one of those things into action and do the same thing that I did and join me at the top of that summit. Thank you.